Hi everyone. So while I'm setting up, hi Alka. I hope my internet is stable enough today. Not sure it's gonna be okay, but if it hangs, I will know, or just let me know, or let's see how it goes. So today I am going to cover a little bit about bokeh lights. Bokeh. I'm not sure exactly how you say it, but this is a photography style or a technique, I would say. Yeah, maybe a technique, not a style. It's a technique where we see a lot of this happening in photography. You blur background lights, and specifically background lights like street lights, a very small source of light, not something bright, not bright, not something large, usually smaller lights. And this is what we see very often in festive photography, where you have strings of lights in the background, and in photography you can focus on an object in the front, which causes the background objects to blur out, right? So that's the whole concept. So here, translating that into watercolor can be yes, Alka, you can actually, to be fair, you can use watercolor for everything except the end, when you want to brighten the lights at the back. Okay, even then I have used white watercolor, which is available in several palettes, like this, the white that you get. It does work. So some palettes have a very thick white, or let's say an opaquish white. Some palettes do not have a thick white at all. I mean, it is no matter how much of white pigment you add, you still will not get, you will get a transparent kind of an effect. So it depends on your palette. So some palettes, check your white. My point would be, check your white, check and see whether the white at its thickest consistency whether it will give you a relatively opaque sort of a look. Okay, in that case, you can use just watercolors. But to be on the safe side, I tend to use watercolors and any sort of gouache or white gouache or white poster color. These are likely to give you a nice bright white, and you need that bright white, right? You need that bright white at certain spots. I'm not saying always, but at certain spots you need some real bright white. So if your watercolor white is not pigmented enough, make sure you have poster color or gouache, one of the two. Yeah, okay, the rest is all watercolor, so it's fine. So my watercolor, I have this big problem with watercolor, and that is that I I use different sets, and I find fungus setting in very fast on some of my colors. Certain colors are more predisposed to mold and mildew and whatever fungus. So you have to be careful, watch out for these. So this is what's happened with my set, which I haven't used for the last few days. Anyway, clean that up, and then you can use that set just as normal. Okay. One of the key things to remember for this sort of painting is it's a very vibrant style of painting. So you have to use a lot of pigment. You cannot use cake watercolors, because cake watercolors will just take a long time to activate. You need a lot of pigment, right? So that's the problem with cakes. This is for a very mild, transparent style of watercolor. I would not recommend cakes when you are doing bokeh. Okay, so either tube colors, or if you have these kind of watercolor pans. I have a set here, another set here, which is also pans. So half pans and full pans and things like that. So these in these cases, the watercolor tends to be more pigmented if you wet it and adequately activate it. The pigmenting on from these pans are better than watercolor cakes. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So try to use either these kind of wet half pans or pans, or watercolors in tubes for bokeh. Okay, as you're going to, it's not that you can't do, again, nothing is set in stone and that you can't do. It's just that you have to have a lot of pigment, and you're just going to work yourself um, quite a bit to get that out of a cake. Okay, all right, so one thing, so that's one thing. Pigmented watercolors, white gouache if your white gouache or poster color if your watercolor itself is not white watercolor is not adequately pigmented. And the other thing is, yeah, we need to, I would advise uh, that you tape down the paper, not because you can't, it's just that with so much of application you should not have to, you know, the paper is going to buckle with so much of watercolor, right? So you want your paper to be nice and stretched. So that is why I would recommend that tape down your sheet before you begin. And what else? Yes, this is one method in which I would not recommend anything less than 300 GSM watercolor paper. Simply because, like I said, there's so much of paint and pigment and water going in onto the paper that no other paper is going to really be able to hold that much. Okay, and we definitely want bokeh lights against a relatively dark background, relatively. Okay, so for that you need to apply a lot of paint. So remember to make sure you're using watercolor paper. All right, so I have, in all these cases, I have been using this ready menorah cold pressed watercolor pad, which has been very handy. Excuse me. Now today we are not going to be able to, I don't want to spend too much of time, I don't want to use such a big sheet simply because it's not going to dry. So what I will do is I will use the same sheet, but I will use it in two parts. Okay, so we can let one part dry while another part we use for demonstrating something while the other part is drying. Yeah. Okay. So taping down is just like something like this. Yeah. If your watercolor paper is from a block, you obviously don't need to do this kind of taping down. Mine is a pad, which means only one side is glued, the other sides are free, so it will still buckle a bit. I'm using masking tape, which is quarter-inch masking tape. Yeah, I think looks like quarter-inch. Rough approximator. This is just roughly two halves. I'm just dividing the paper into two halves. Okay, bokeh effect is basically white or patches in your colored background which have not which do not have as much pigment, or in some cases no pigment at all. So there are many ways. If you go to YouTube, and that is where I learned most of what I know, they will tell you that there are many videos. First of all, you should check them out, but there are many ways also to achieve this effect. Okay, so I will demonstrate what I have done, which if you've watched my reels you will know. I use the lifting technique, and I quite enjoy the lifting technique, and it works very well for me, mostly because like I said, I use watercolor paper. So lifting is really good on watercolor paper. There you go. Just a wee bit. Okay. So the lifting technique is one way of doing getting this these circles. The other techniques are what I'm going to talk about, but maybe not take forward. Before starting any project using bokeh, last year I used this bokeh technique to at Christmas time to make Christmas cards. So what you will need to remember is you have to decide beforehand what your focal object is going to be. What are you going to present in front, right in the front, in the foreground and the background. So your lights are in the background, that's fine. But what is in the foreground? Now because it was Diwali, my theme was Diwali. This time I stuck to lamps and lanterns and diyas. Okay, so this is my foreground. Not only the diya, even some amount of the flowers at the bottom. Here it was more like a brass lamp. Here it was just the normal, very plain sort of diyas. And here was a hanging lantern. So if you notice the difference between these two, the focal object already has some light on it, which means that you are seeing the colors on the focal object. Okay, but here the difference is that the focal object is also in some amount of shadow. Okay, which means I can't see the decoration on this thing. You are seeing the focal object as a silhouette. Okay, here the light is on the focal object too, and here the light is not on the focal object, so you are seeing it largely dark. That is another approach you can take. Whichever approach you take, you have to plan this before you start putting in the background, because if it is an object like this where there is light, you can't paint over the space. Okay, so if I were to, let's take a simple example. I'm going to draw just a single let's say this is my table, okay, or a surface, some kind of a flat surface, and I draw a diya here, okay, and maybe we have a light from the center. This is your focal image. Make sure that you draw this and keep this rough sketch ready before you apply a background. Why? Because you have to paint around it. Okay, you have to paint around it, and you want this thing not to have gotten the background paint on it. Okay, so keep this drawing. A rough sketch has to be made before you start painting the entire background, and then you have to go around it. Okay. Now, you will notice among the colors I've used, depending on what mood you are trying to portray or what kind of a color setting you want, you can still have in dark colors. So, for example, this is a bluish tinge I've maintained. Here you have purplish reddish kind of a background. Then I have a real dark, like almost navy black brown kind of background. This is like a brown and yellow background. So whatever color combination you take, you're going to have a lot of dark colors like black and brown going to go in with those colors. So keep that in mind. So let's assume that for this one, we want to have our lights in the background here. Okay, so something like this. Okay, I want to have lights over here going in something like a U shape. Okay, and they don't have to be uh, in sequence. Okay, if you notice bokeh lights, real photography of bokeh lights, or that bokeh effect, you will notice that lights are not, even the circles are not always sequential. Some are superimposed over others. It's very random. Okay, and that randomness has to be conveyed even in what we are doing. So although in focus these lights would probably be in a certain order, sequence, okay, maybe you have one bulb after the other, when you blur them out they tend to merge one into the other. Okay, first of all, the lights may not be so big in reality. It's the blurred image that's giving you this effect. So have an idea what you want to do with your lights, where you roughly want those lights. Okay, and when you are putting paint down, you can put in some colors around those areas. So what I mean by that is, let me wet the paper, And for bokeh lights, I would recommend that this is the first technique is what I have employed in my in my artwork, which is the lifting technique. So you need something like a cleanish tissue, a cleanish tissue, and decide the size of your lights. I had one size which was rather large, but I like this kind of large as well. But I also have at the same time small circles, right? So depending on the size of the circle you want, you need a circular object. So let me show you options of objects. A coin. A coin is the first thing that, this is a coin. So this is a coin, okay? And not a coin. I think we used to have a 10 paise coin at one time, which was a lovely size. I now use what is this? It's a penny. Yeah, it's British. Yeah, 1 penny. So I found this 1 penny to be a good size. Yeah. So you have to find an object that is the size you want, because you are going to wrap this in tissue, and you're going to have to pick up paint in this shape. Okay. The other option is when I wanted smaller ones. Many things. It's like you have to be creative in what you want to try and do. Let me show you what I did for one. I actually took a pen, and the back of the pen had a circle, the size that I wanted. So I took that and I tried making a circle with that, using that for a circle. Then, there. So I have a craft punch, which gives me a smaller circle, and excuse me, and you can take any sort of plastic sheet is what I prefer, because thick paper can buckle. Plastic sheet meaning, something that is, why do I not have something when I want it? Sort of a plastic sheet, can I show you? Okay, I won't take a plastic sheet, but I have this blank. Let me show you this blank piece. Okay, this is a kind of a paper that's rather thick. I'm going to punch out. Yeah. Okay, so I like this size. This is a nice size. You can put this too inside your tissue, and that's the size we are looking at. Okay, so let me keep both options ready. Okay, so you can see the two different sizes that I'm trying to achieve. Okay, now here take a mop brush or a large sort of a brush, and wet the area around your focal object. Watercolor paper is excellent for in terms of taking so much of water. Okay, I'm wetting it. Why? You can do this without wetting too, but the paint tends to not spread as well when the paper is not wet. Okay, and it's nicer to have an even spread of paint. Take the largest brush you have for this. Okay, alright, so I wet the sheet. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some bright colors. I'm going to take pink. Okay, I like this pink very much. It's I think I forget what it's called. Rose, quinacridone rose. Do you see? Spreads really well. Activate. Make sure you're taking directly from the pan, or even if you are diluting it if you're diluting it in a palette, it should be very pigmented. Don't hesitate to put pigment. Okay, don't be stingy with it. Now I'm going in with a phthalo blue. Okay, and it's okay for it to merge here and there because your pink is going to get lighter. You're going to put in darker tones as well. Now this part, be careful. You are trying to keep the outline of your shape. And this merging of colors is fine, huh? It's absolutely fine for it to merge like this. I mean, mix and become another color. You can see it's already becoming some sort of a purple. Sometimes paper dries a little faster than you expect. Okay. Around this, I don't want to put in too much of blue because that's the light I want in the background. Thereafter, I want something dark. I'm going in with, I'm using a mop brush, Shivani. It's Brustro's round brush. It's just a mop brush I had. Now this is shade, see, this is how light. Now this pigment is not activated. So this sort of a light shade won't do. It will dry lighter, right? We all know watercolor dries lighter. So make sure that you're activating. I should have activated my pigment before. Just spray, use a spray bottle, activate your pigment, let it stay, let the water stay for a minute or two, and then you will have really dark pigment. Yeah. Now mostly I want this kind of a black thing with the table. Okay, so the table is coming roughly at this point. It's okay if you don't maintain a very firm line. It doesn't make a big difference. You can maintain, let the table merge at other places. Okay, at this point, even if you feel like putting a brown, now some palettes, like in my Daniel Smith palette, I don't have a brown that's adequately brown enough, so I'll go into this one. I often mix my colors because I'm actually looking for the shades that I want across palettes. Yeah. Now the top, I feel I could make it little darker, little deeper. So let's go in with a indigo. Let's see. Oh, it's a purple. Okay, no harm. You can't always tell the color, when you're applying, when you're taking it off the edges are nicer, darker, just from experience. Yeah. Edges are usually better darker. If you have lighter spots in the center, that's okay. That's fine. Like here is lighter than I wanted it, but that's okay. That doesn't make sense. Okay. Don't hesitate putting pigment down. I would think if you want something darker, you really need to put a lot more pigment than what I have put right now. Okay. That's the only real thing I would say about bokeh. Please don't think that you put, oh, this is too much. It's not too much. With bokeh, it's not too much at all. Whatever pigment you put, it is going to lighten up after it dries. Okay, so don't hesitate. Don't think it's, which is why it is also a fact that you can use gouache for this, not necessarily watercolors, because if you're going to use watercolors like me, I think I emptied half of my colors just doing these four. You're going to use up a lot of pigment. Half my pans are empty now because I used them up. Okay, moving on. I'm going to go with the small size because the big is going to be very big on this small thing. So where's my tissue? Yeah, here it is. Clean tissue. Put your circular object, whatever it be, in this case a hard plasticky sheet. Okay, you see this? Make yourself a nice firm circular piece and press down while it is wet. Very, very important. While it is wet, you have to press down, because otherwise nothing will lift off. Oops. Okay, I'm going to move a little faster, but you get the point, right? If you have any questions, ask. But I'm going to move a little fast because my paper is already starting to dry. I've taken a new shape. Okay, a little bit wonky is fine. Don't worry. You're going to go in with paint after, so you can straighten out these lines. But try your best to get that shape more or less right. Now, see this overlap? Okay, do that from time to time at certain places. I can only do 2 or 3 of these before I have to again move on the tissue. The tissue doesn't absorb after 2 3 of these. Yeah. Overlap a few places. Makes it more believable as a bouquet pattern. Now, how many should you put? That is up to you. It is not it is not a fixed number. If you feel that after it has dried you should have put a few more, it's fine. You can lift paint even after it has dried. It's just not as effective. See, that portion is dried. It won't be as light. That's the only downside. But watercolor being watercolor, it can be reactivated, and so it will still come off. Okay, I think this is enough. If I need more, I'm going to tackle it later. Now, I'm going to have a bit of a problem. This is not going to dry. Can you see the paint pouring out? It's still quite sopping wet. Yeah, I'm only hurrying it because leave that, and I will, while that is getting done, I will show you some other techniques. So other techniques for bouquet would be, let's say you draw your circles. Now let me draw a circle. Okay, you can draw circles like this. You can use masking fluid. For those of you who don't know what masking fluid is a type of rubbery liquid. I have masking fluid here, which I normally use. You can use this sort of a liquid on these circles and leave them to dry. After masking fluid dries, it doesn't take too long. You can paint straight over it. I mean, you don't even have to restrict yourself. You just take a brush and wipe all over, put all the paint you want, and after that has dried, after the paint has dried, you peel off the masking fluid which was dried, and what's left behind is perfectly white paper. Okay. I have tried it once, but I mean, I use masking fluid only if it's not, if there's no other way out. Okay. It has its own downsides, like paper tearing afterwards and things like that. So not for bouquet, at least I don't use bouquet masking fluid for bouquet. The other option is, of course, paint around. So I'm going to just apply some paint around these. This is tricky because obviously the hand is not going to be as steady as you'd like it to be. And the other thing about bokeh is that, I mean, this approach in bokeh is that it's it leaves circles in a very, it leaves circles with very sharp edges, right? Look at the edge of this circle now that I have painted. It's so stark. It's one downside of painting, leaving the white space. Okay, but at the same time, it can look good if it's only a few of these that are. So you can consider picking up paint afterwards for some other lights, but maybe a few in the whole lot can be this way. Okay, so maybe I could have wet this just to make my life a little easier. It's drying faster than I'm applying paint. Let's take a little bit of yellow. Let's see what happens. Some colors can blend funny, right? In the sense, yellow and blue will give you a green, that kind of a thing. But if it is not going to affect your larger picture, or you feel that it's okay if I had little green in the background, sometimes festive colors are also, I mean, green is a festive color too. So then if it doesn't affect the mood of your piece, you can go ahead and, or you may get a muddy mix. So that's another constant problem actually. You may get a muddy mix of brown. If brown is not a color that you want for that particular bokeh effect, then yes, you have to take care what colors you're mixing and what colors you're adding to this. But if brown is allowed, I mean, you're okay with brown, then go ahead and let it blend, let it become slightly brown, and it's okay. Okay, I'm going to go in with some, what is this, indigo. It's drying really fast, faster than I expected. So I'm going to go in with a little bit of, this is tricky, right? Just getting that circle so awkward. Okay, now the rest of it I'm just going to mix up a color because I'm going to show you, it needs to dry, so I'm not going to make it very dark. Okay, it needs to dry to show you the last way in which, these are just 4 ways. So one was lifting, which I did while the wet paint is wet, background is still wet. What I'm going to show you is lifting after the background is dry, or even if the background is mildly wet, that's where you use water. Okay, you can use water to get certain effects. Okay, so this is step 2. Step 3 would, I mean, another method would be type 3 would be, or option 3 would have been the what is it, what did I say, masking fluid. Can't talk and paint together. Now this is getting dry, not entirely dry. I won't ideally touch it till it's dry. I don't want, yeah, leave it. So water, the 4th method is water. You take a drop of water and let it spread. We all know, no, the what we call the cauliflower bloom or effect or whatever. That is what you're going to do here. I'm putting a drop of water and letting it blend, or rather disperse, and letting water do its, problem, the downside, the biggest downside to this is the edge is absolutely off. You can't forget a sharp edge. The edge is just like so blurred, right? So see what happens. This is the downside of water. Just applying water. This can be done even after the paint has dried. Of course, my paint is not dry. My paint is still in the process of drying. But this ugliness is the problem with having water, applying water to get the bokeh lights. Okay, let me take a big one, as big as this. Another drop of water here. Let's see. Okay, this part has dried quite a bit. So you will notice that the water is not spreading so much. I'm merely applying it over this portion. It will activate the colors under it. So this is not turned out well, right? So which is why this is the least used technique. I mean, obviously. And that's because it's wet. But if you applied it on something dry, you wouldn't get this bleeder. I'm just trying to get the circular shape. Lifting up paint. So dry a brush, lift up the paint, and come back and again lift up more paint. Same thing that we did with the tissue, lifting. Okay, now let's see what happens here. This was more or less dry. So less paint is getting picked up here because it was already dry. So that tells you that chances of getting nice white spots in places which have where the color is already dried is less. So now if you want to lighten this circle, you will have to apply gouache or white, something that is richly pigmented, white that is richly pigmented. Okay, you're not going to get your bright color from this circle. Yeah, okay, let me just lift this off as well. So even here it's made a bit of a mess, even though it was not that wet. Still the water has done its own thing. You can't control water. Just can't control water and where it goes or how it spreads. You just can't. So it can be very frustrating. Okay. I'm not going to go into now. This one is more or less dried, so I'll show you how you can add a little color to it. Suppose I want that to be a yellow color or an orange color. I take my orange and I apply it on top. Alright, and that's your light. Okay, similarly, if I want a color like maybe green, okay, over here, a light green, I can simply go over it once it's the background is dried, and there's your light. But the edge, look at the edge. Okay, the edge is very firm for things that we have left absolutely blank. Now the overlapping ones I want to show you. When you are painting two colors that are overlapping, wait for one to dry before applying the other, otherwise you're going to have a bleed. Okay, so now before I apply this, suppose I want to apply a yellow here, don't apply it till this has fully dried. Okay, I think that's fairly intuitive. If you want to go in with paint on places that have been now, you can go in with paint, and this is about as bright as the paint will get. Okay, if you want to brighten the paint a bit or make it more opaque, add a little white to it, white watercolor, and that brightness of that yellow is going to go up. So let me just show you white watercolor. White watercolor. So this is not very transparent, sorry, not very opaque, not very opaque, and so you're going to get this kind of an effect. Let me also show you poster color. Okay, so poster color will give you a richer, see that? Gouache will do the same. It will give you a nice vibrant look. This is a transparent look. This is a more opaque look. If I put white inside little yellow, I'll be getting that little bit of an opaque look. See? So adding white makes your color more opaque and straight away makes it a brighter color on this bouquet background. Okay. Alright. Now, going back to, I'm not sure if this is dry. Yeah, this is dry. Before I put another overlapping color, make sure it's dry. And let's say now I want to mix am I back? Is the network not stable? Hold on. If you can see this clearly, can you just give me a thumbs up? Change network. Looking quite pixelated. Let's use a hotspot. What was I doing? Purple. So let's say I want to paint a purple over this. Okay, you need to have this first shade dry, sorry, so that you get this effect. Or if I were to take another lighter shade, let's say I take a yellow. Okay, I'm just taking yellow paint, applying it here. So the more you move your brush, the more it's going to activate the layers underneath. Okay, and that is the tricky part. It is going to be it's going to be challenging when you're directly painting on top of the background. But here what's happening here is you've lifted off paint already, and because you've already lifted it, when you apply paint on top of it, it's not going to take off more background color, right? So I'm going to go with this theme, okay, of pinks and pink and blue. Maybe let's think of a pink and blue. Okay, now if I use a pink as it is, let me show you how it looks. Okay, let's say I apply pink. Even my lightest pink, without so much of, okay, it almost merges with the background. However, if I took a little bit of white, it would look a little better. So let me just take white from here. There you go. See? Now that pink looks like you can see it, right? You can see the circle. What I like to do is, I like to put my lightest colors first. Why? Because then I can judge whether I need more darks or lights. So I'm going to go with white. Okay, and white is my lightest, obviously. I'm going to space them out because I don't have, all white lights are not near each other. So here's me putting a white. Let's put another white here. It's a sense. You have to, uh, you have to feel it. Where should my next light white go? Maybe here. Maybe one here. Oh, that's nice and white. It's tricky. I'm trying not to. I'll just turn this around. Yeah, maybe this is better. Yeah, I'm struggling not getting my hand resting. Okay, so I have one here which is lightened. Go in a second time if you want it brighter. Okay, I do that often. Huh? Go in a second time with some gouache. Okay, and maybe one over here. Roughly maintaining the size of the circles. It's a good thing to maintain the same sort of a size, because then the lights look like they are part of a set. Okay, now I'm going to take my other paints. Oops. Okay, I have a messy palette here, but I have some pink here. Okay, I'm going to go in with some white. That's my white, and my next light color will be a light pink. I want my light pink to not touch any of the whites I have put. Okay, so I'm putting a light pink here, but this is an opaque pink. This is not a not transparent pink. We are going to use transparent pink at certain places. Maybe one here. Okay, then I'm going to go in with a blue, but a blue I don't think I need to dilute it with the white. Let's see how it looks. Now I can't touch what is already touched. There, too bright. You can make it multicolor. Huh? There's no this thing that you can't. In fact, I find yellows really work well, really well. Yellows. Now this blue is very dull, so you can put in a little bit, just a tad of white into that blue, and just brighten it up a bit. See, instantly it's brighter. Now I've got to be careful. Okay, this one is not. Alright. Okay, then maybe somewhere here. Space them out, but not so uniformly that it looks obvious. Okay. I'll probably put one here, but I have to see. It's tricky, huh? I have a white there that is. Oh, there! Look at that. So don't touch it too much. Now I will go in with maybe a little bit of red. Let's see if we can. Purple, maybe purple. Purple is better. Yeah. No, I'm not happy with purple. Maybe an off-white. Yeah. So I do need that yellow. I'm doing something very, very dangerous. Going close to a color that's not dried. Now this is a very light yellow, so I can go in with a very deep yellow. Let me show you how a very highly pigmented yellow will look. There you go. No white. This is just yellow, but it is a bright yellow. See? Now, suppose you want to add in one more yellow at a place that doesn't have any spot already lifted, just go and put it on top and walk away from it before the paint below starts to get lifted. Okay, I'm going to also try some reddish pink. Let me see if that works. Yeah, touching that. Maybe here, but I'm okay. So it starts to shape up, and then you have to stand back and look. How does it look? Now this one is nice, but it's not standing out. So maybe I can put my red there, right? So consider going back with some other color. It's okay. Or maybe that was not the best option. Doesn't matter. Try. You'll figure it out. What other colors can I put? Blue. I could consider a blue, but maybe in a lighter section you can actually have a blue. Too bright. Now you're coming close to a white that has already been applied. So try to get all this part in first. Okay, around where color has been lifted. And then here just overlap it slightly. See the effect? So you want to show one light over another light, and if you go too many times, that white is going to move. What else? Let's try an orange, a bright orange. Orangish color. Maybe here. Again, I'm going to try and do everything else before covering up. Yeah. That's it. In spite of it, that white has bled. Okay, we have one last one here. Maybe that blue is good. Oops. This happens, huh? Circle may get larger while you're painting it, or something like that happens. Don't fret too much. Now this is, I don't want a blue. I'm trying to see the blues that are here. Could have a blue here, but it doesn't make sense. Maybe one here. Blue is so dark and pigmented. Oops. Leave it. Okay. This is something you can keep doing as for like ages. I mean, from experience, I feel like you can go on and on and on. Sometimes you will add a lot more than you lifted, and that's fine. Getting to your focal object. Now here, oh, I forgot to actually show you. Let's lift a little bit of color here. Now why am I lifting? Oops, there's a blue here. Why am I lifting? Any guesses? Just a little sliver. Yeah, quite obviously, no? We want to apply a shadow. Not a shadow, sorry, reflection. What am I saying? A reflection. A very fuzzy reflection of the light underneath. Now I'm going to go in with brown. Okay, but just keep in mind that over here, when you have a a light source here, you are likely going to have the lightest brown here and the darker brown towards the edges, right? Because that's where the light is. So keep that in mind when you are painting a brown. You want your lightest brown here, followed by darker brown on the sides. I'm horribly uncomfortable. Okay, go in with a deeper brown. Drag it outward. When you apply darker brown, make sure you're dragging it outward so that, yeah, this way. Drag it outward. Getting tired of this. I'm going to turn this around, okay? I really need a hand support. I can't do this. Yeah, better. So much better. Okay? So this is the kind of effect you want to give. Now the flame. Unlike what we think, if you look at photographs, the flame is not yellow. Not yellow. It is actually quite white. And what I found is, if you make it yellow, it kind of dulls the flame, the effect of the flame and the focal aspect of the flame. So what I like to do is apply white poster color a little bit, okay, not at the edge is okay as it is, but more at the center. Okay, this is just white poster color, and to this white I put a tinge of yellow, any yellow. I mean, in this case this is something like a gamboge or something, so a mild yellow here, just a mild, and run that gently over the white that you put, and that's it. That's all the color you need. It looks white to you, but actually when it prints and when it eventually when you compare it to what is happening, that starkness is so important. Now you will also have to paint the inner part of this diya, but I'm not going to do it now because the outer part is going to merge, right? So let's leave it. But look at your reference photos, if you have a reference photo, and try to capture whatever you see, in the sense that sometimes I don't know if I should show you this one. What I noticed was the way this photo was taken, the light was at the edge of the diya, and it was casting its shadow. Fortunately, the ground, the color at the bottom was not dark, unlike this is quite dark. But even if this is dark, you can actually apply a deep shade of blackish brown and give it a shadow. This was the only object in which, I mean, only reference image in which I had this shadow at the bottom. I didn't see it for the other one, so I didn't put it. Okay, but do you notice that where the light is, that area should be a little bit lighter. Okay, so you want to show some reflection or some brightness brought in. So even here, if you were applying, I would say you could consider lifting off a little bit of this black here. Okay, just a wee bit. Let me see if it works. No, not so much. Okay, but you could probably put in a little yellow and see. Let's see if we can get that. Maybe I'm messing it up. Yeah. My intent is to get the kind of light at the base, but I am actually, yeah, it's not going to work. Not so late. So this is something I should have planned in. If I wanted the light to be here, when I was applying the black, I should have left a little bit of light here. Yeah, we still got something. Not bad. But always, instead of lifting, the best thing to do would be just plan it. Don't just go ahead and apply paint like I did. Plan it. And then we still need a little wick over here where we are showing a little bit of the light. See what I mean? factor all these things in when you're planning whatever you're planning, which is why most of my bouquet pictures took so long, because there was a lot of thinking. There was a lot of thinking about not only color but the object and how much shadow it was casting. Here, for example, I needed to show a lightness here because of the light on one side. Then here the light is below over here, right? And everything else is so dark. So I did this in the beginning itself. When I was applying the black itself, I applied this orangish red here, right? I'll show you one last thing, let that dry. And that would be, whatever you are doing in your background, if you want to have a silhouette, the silhouette of an object, you have to take deep black, deep black, really dark black, and have the silhouette of the object you are trying to imitate. So if at Christmas time I had a star, so there's your, it has to be so deep that the silhouette not looking the best. Mix in some brown if you feel that will help. Okay, this is a something like this it was. So you can do darker paint on a background without leaving the outline. Now I didn't leave the outline of this on the background, right? So that is a possibility, but once again, plan. Not something you can do for something like this. See, now here I knew I was going to have a lamp and it's going to have light and it's going to be bright, so I left the space. I left whiter, yellowish, more yellow here and darker brown here. So these things still need a lot of calculation. Now this is not looking as great because it's just looking like a stark dark object placed against a colorful background. It could be better, but yes, silhouettes work this way. It's about entire darkness, complete darkness. I don't know why I'm trying to salvage this. Like I feel it can be salvaged. Alright, I'm going to just leave it. Not going to touch that yet. Or should I? Should I risk it? Not sure. I'll probably finish it later. In the end, as many lights as you like is what you would lift. You can do it this way too. These will just have very, very stark outlines as compared to this is a little more dull. Water makes a real mess, even though it's considered an option. What else? Yeah, the alternative to this is that you put masking fluid and it will give you the same kind of effect. Anything else? Nothing else. Dark colors if you want these things to stand out. Yeah, that's about it. So try out Bokeh. It is not going to come right the first time, I have to tell you. Don't be disappointed. It is probably the kind of thing that you are going to feel like, oh, I never want to do this again. And for the longest time I did not try Bokeh because I did not want to do it again. But once you get it, and once you realize what kind of colors, you give it thought, and what kind of colors work, don't work, you start to enjoy it, and then it's fun. So having said that, here's the series that I'm created this time. The deep colors, like I said, emptied half my pans. I emptied so many colors, but it ended up so vibrant and nice. And I had a lot of ideas off Pinterest, but mostly it was mix and match. and I did not see a single image that stood out as, oh yeah, I want to recreate this image as it is. No. So it was like a diya from some place, and the light, colors of the light from another place, or a background from shades in the background from another place. So it was all mix and match, and a lot of visualizing before doing these. But what I liked about this is they printed very well, and I have to, they printed really well. So here's my prints. Here are the prints of my artwork, which is so satisfying. Really, they're so vibrant. The It did justice to the pictures that I actually made. So these cards are now available. They are 7 by 5, 7 inches by 5 inches. Plain Diwali cards. There's nothing written. You can choose to write what you want to write inside. Lots of space, and yeah. So they come in white envelopes. I've stuck to white because Bokeh has been a very dark project, colorful but dark. Okay, so these are the prints of the original. Not sure if the original looks better, the prints look better, but they are so lovely when they printed, and I'm really happy with this series. So if any of you is interested, these come in sets of 4, because there are 4 bouquet designs. Let me take this off. Hold on. Oh, there's one more. These are the originals, so let's just keep that aside. But the prints are here, sets of 4. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Keeping with the Diwali theme. So if anyone's interested, please go ahead and message me. I'll be more than happy to have these delivered, mostly by post. If you would like one set or more, I also have these ready in postcards for those who are postcard enthusiasts like myself. I enjoy postcards too. So here's the postcard version of things. Where is it? Yep, those are postcards. So same thing, but perfect for sending a wish for less. Less is more too. So these are postcards. Same images in a set of 4, 4 by 6 or 6 by 4. Yeah. So if anyone's interested in these, let me know. All the prints are going to be, these are my samples. The prints should be ready tomorrow and ready for dispatch actually tomorrow. Let me know. And if you do try bouquet yourself, whether it's with poster colors or watercolors, please do post and let me know. Tag me so I can see it. I'd love to see what ideas you have. Yeah. Thanks for joining in today. I know it's been a long hour. Let me know if any of you is interested in the postcards or the prints or the greeting cards. I have another set of Diwali greetings that are coming out soon to be released. But a sneak peek for those who may be interested. I have done mosaic as well, so maybe I'll have a live for Diwali mosaics, and some interesting mosaics have turned out of these. So let's do another session on mosaics, right? Another set of cards, and you'll see a post on this soon. 4 card mosaic set as well. All right. Thank you very much for joining in, and for if you have any questions, go ahead and message me, WhatsApp or Instagram, wherever. Yeah. See you all soon. Bye.